Version 5.8. 2 new weapons, 5-star polearm, 4-star claymore. Who can use? Let's find out. Important stuff in the description. Captions are there if you need. Join my Discord server. Intro done. Moving on. The first weapon is going to be Innefa's signature polearm, Fractured Halo. It has a 608 base attack and a 66.2% crit damage substat. For its passive at R1, casting a skill or burst increases attack by 24% for 20 seconds. If the user creates a shield while this effect is active, the entire party's lunar charge damage is increased by 40%. This polearm has the expected synergy with Innefa. She's someone with great attack scaling abilities, including a special direct lunar charge damage passive, which also scales on attack. Lunar Charged will also be a special reaction scaling with crit stats, so the substat will serve a purpose. And finally, with Innefa being able to make a shield, this further allows her to activate the passive for the team's LC damage. As of right now, Innefa's the only unit who enables LC in the first place, so I wouldn't really go for this weapon unless you plan to snag her first. But let's just look a little further ahead. In version 6, Lunar Charge will be accessible through more characters, so you might get another unit who unlocks the reaction, but can't use the weapon. With a scenario like this, who's our next best choice? The crit damage substat and attack bonus passive make this a pretty nice stat stick for any characters with the relevant scalings. So this list will mainly focus on the shielders who can unlock the LC bonus. As for those units who can make a shield, the first two are dedicated shielders, Zhongli and Thoma. Zhongli is a nice defensive option who also provides some res shred. As a Geo unit, he will trigger Crystallize, which fortunately wouldn't disrupt your LC auras too much. As for Thoma, he can create consistent shields, which definitely means full uptime on the passive. On top of that, his ICD is very slow, so even if he's triggering pyro reactions, he shouldn't be doing this too often that you lose out on LC uptime. Next up is units with off shields. These are abilities that, when cast, create a shield, but only for the duration in which you hold the ability. With this weapon, however, the condition is not to preserve a shield, but to simply make one. So this means the other two characters on our list will be Yunjin and Candice. Yunjin's skill makes a temp shield, and this can be used to enable the LC passive. Her Geo application is twice per rotation, so you definitely don't have to worry about disrupting the auras. Candice, on the other hand, is a Hydro unit. Her application will serve as a contribution to the team's LC damage, not a disruption. This will be a bit more apparent at C6, which gives her burst more hits across the rotation. And since her skill also makes a temp shield, this gives her the ability to proc the LC passive. Finally, this one's a bit iffy, but Kachina should be able to use the shield passive. Crystallized shields are still considered a shield, so if Kachina makes one via Crystallize, this should count towards the passive. The thing is, this weapon doesn't have an off-field friendly statement, so it's very likely Kachina would have to collect the shard herself in order to proc the passive. So it's an option, but with some extra conditions applied to it. Overall, this passive can see possible users in future LC teams that don't have Innefa. But once again, you have to keep in mind how restrictive the passive really is. You need to put it on someone who can make a shield, and then run them in a team where Lunar Charged is enabled. That'll do it for this weapon, so let's move on to the Claymore. This weapon is called Flame Forged Insight. It's going to be our free event Claymore for 5.8. It has a 510 base attack and a 165 EM substat. For its passive, when Electrocharge, Lunar Charge, or Bloom is triggered, the user gains 12 to 24 energy and 60 to 120 EM for 15 seconds. This can trigger every 15 seconds, even while off-field. To be honest, the first sentence is a little vague. I'm not sure if the reaction being triggered means the user has to trigger the reaction, or if anyone can trigger it. For the sake of this video though, I am going to assume anyone can trigger the reaction, and the user still gets buffed. If it's wrong, I'll address it in a pinned comment. Seeing as the passive currently functions for 2 Hydro-related reactions, we can assume a future Hydro Claymore unit will be releasing soon, and can utilize the passive in either of these teams. Additionally, I'm predicting this weapon will be updated in version 6 to include a Lunar Bloom reaction trigger. For now, let's just focus on the current units who can use this weapon. Starting off, Kaveh was one of the first units who popped into my head. He's a Bloom-based character who scales with EM, and has pretty hefty energy issues. This Claymore helps address both of these needs. Additionally, if and when Lunar Bloom occurs, it's likely going to have the properties of an EM sharing effect. So even in scenarios where Kaveh is not the trigger, his higher EM stat could still contribute a nice amount to your team. Second unit is Sayu. She's also an EM scaler, which makes her a solid reaction unit for your teams. You can use her on-field as a driver, or off-field for continuous Anemo application. Anemo serves more of a function in the Taser teams than Bloom, so if Sayu uses this, I imagine those teams will be where she shines the most. Other units include Beidou, Razor, Dori, and Kanich. While their scalings are not EM focused, their elements of Electro or Dendro mean that they can help contribute to the corresponding EC, LC, Bloom, and possible L-Bloom reactions. The extra energy is helpful, but I don't really see it as a first-hand option unless you really decide to go all in on your reaction damage. Finally, even if units aren't Electro, Dendro, or Hydro, simply running this weapon in the relevant EC or Bloom teams means you can still proc the passive. I find it to lean more into a meme build, but a Pyro DPS running this in Overvape or Burgeon comps can make use of the EM stat. If Lunar Freeze or Lunar Shatter becomes a thing down the line, a Cryo character could also make use of the EM stat. It's a possible option, but not something I could really recommend. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. Overall, the two weapons are in a state where future releases will make their viability on units either more effective or flexible to use. While it's only good on a few select characters at the moment, I do see them getting more value in the future. I would personally wait on Inefa's weapon if you're not planning to go for her, but absolutely work on that event to get that free Claymore. It might just be a new Bessen slot for someone down the line. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like and subscribe to support the channel. Let me know in the comments if you're going to use these weapons, and who you might plan to use it on. Thanks again for watching everyone, and I will see you all next time. Bye! Given the throne, I didn't know how to believe. There's a fucking motorcycle! What the fuck? It just revved its engine. I'm in the middle of a fucking song, you motherfucking bitch. I just need you to understand that I'm not gonna get better. Not even for you. Fuck.